Well, welcome everyone. Nice to see you again. If you have any question, is it Judy? Are you leading it today?
I am. Martin's a co-host, so
Oh, Martin and Judy. So if you put your hand up, they'll see, oh, there's Mary Champagne. It's a glass of champagne she put up. Ah, that's pretty good. Get behind me, devil. Do not tempt me. The money, it was an incredible little miracle. Now, I had been running into heavy sludge for years, and I had just spent 2 years in a program to rehab. Fine, it won't take its answer. All right. Yeah, so it's a subjective experience, and you can't capture actually how it was like, but you can sort of remember the momentum, and the momentum was going straight down, so to speak. And I had broken through what I thought were the floors of bottoms, FLOOR, and found myself in a really uh, pitiful, demoralized, just incomprehensible condition. And it wasn't like super quick, but it was like making large steps. The staircase I fell down had a distance between each step. Yeah, but you could see it as soon as I left this program. Uh, I started a little higher and then it just dropped and then dropped and then dropped. And then I was living in like people's ceilings where you'd come in and there'd be people in the living room and there was a hatch right there and I'd have to open it up and go up there and close it with people going about their life, sitting up there. It was, and how low can you go was like it was an infinite limbo game. It didn't seem it was going to ever change. So it brought a deep demoralization, and I felt hopeless, truly hopeless. And at this point, for many people in addiction, they don't have any money, and their ability to get what they want has been severely affected. You're not you don't have a high average in convincing others to do what you want. So you're very, very angry and you pretty much will drink anything just to try to uh, forget for a little while. They had this shit they used to put out. It was like a malt liquor that was it really dumbed you out if you drank like a big one. Of course, they had a big thing, and it was just the worst taste in the world. It was just to fucking knock you out, yet stay on your feet. Yep. So what happened is uh I had gone out, like I hadn't gone out the other days, but I'd gone out March 18th, the days before St. Patrick's Day. And again, it was a miniature of what had been the last few years. It started on one point, then I lost the car the next day. Then I didn't know, from there on, I didn't know what was going on. There was I was in what they call a blackout in drinking. And I came to like in a flash in a trailer park in some town. And I know there wasn't a hang gliding park. And I know there wasn't a hang gliding airport in San Francisco. So I know I wasn't where I lived. And I started to try to reconnoit the situation because I had parachuted behind enemy lines. I was trying to figure out what's going on. And I came into the world in the situation in mid-sentence. I had no idea what had been talked about. And across from me, there was a guy who I never saw before until that second. I don't know how I ended up there. And he had a big head, very big face. and a bulbous nose and varicose veins, like W.C. Fields, if you ever remember that old guy. He looked like a ripe something. And we were sitting at a little table. It had to be little because we were in a trailer. And there was a bottle of Royal Gate vodka. Now, if you're on the East Coast, it would be the same vodka, but they'd have Smirnoff on it. It's just a different brand. It's the same rocket fuel. And it was very inexpensive. And so I found myself taking a slug of that. And then I passed it back, which is the etiquette, of two bums. Yeah, you take a hit, they take a hit, you take a hit. It's a very socialistic situation. Yeah, yeah. So we were passing this bottle, and I looked at him and I said, something flashed in my head, like this guy's a bum, this person I'm with. I should be on a higher level, so all those ideas you have. And then suddenly I felt like he was looking at me exactly the same way, like I was a bum. And then something tore the fabric of what I called the existence. Something came in and I got whacked. It was wild. I didn't have no idea. But it was sort of like if you've been moving for a long, long time and you don't even know when you're not moving, you're still moving, something stopped. It was the first stop I really had. Like Delancey Street stopped me on some levels, but I never was stopped this way. Yeah. The police would stop me from doing anything more, but it wasn't like this kind of stop. The whole head stopped. Yeah. When I got stopped out there in the material world, the head didn't stop. In this case, the head stopped. And I was just paused. And then there was there's something appeared on the screen. So the screen went blank, something appeared on the screen, and it was, I'm fucked, literally. And this is what I had been living under for a year or two, about 10 months. And I didn't want to look up. And it was like the sky opened and I saw I'm fucked. It was trying to get through to me for these 10 months. And I was avoiding looking up, so to speak. So whack, I'm fucked. And then right underneath it, like a CNN news flash, just a headline and one little blurb. And I'm not managerial quality. And that was very significant. Yeah. Because I had spent 2 years in Delancey Street. They directed my life 24/7. They directed what room I was in, what I was going to do, where I was going to work. I was basically being told what to do all day, pretty much 2 years straight. And when I left and I graduated with flying colors in a weird way, I graduated from that program. And when I left, here you go, guys, get water if you like. When I left, I had to admit that my life looked better with them running it than it ever did with me running it. Yeah, very profound on a dog shit level. It was very profound. Like and then I realized I could turn my life over to almost everyone in this room. There's a few people I wouldn't, but if I did, they would probably do a better job with it than I do. And now this is a fundamental, because this is going, it's like a confront of the basic that I was living on. Like I was looking out for my best interests. That's basically, you would hope you would be that role in your life, that you would be looking out for your best interest, but that wasn't the case. I was not looking out for my best interest. And at that moment, and I didn't know it, but that I had been taken over by something. Yeah. And that something wasn't shy about being flamboyant. It took me into a whole theater of the absurd, with it running the choreography and the lighting and everything. Yeah. And I had no idea that it wasn't me until I did. Yeah. That didn't happen at this moment. But what did happen is that whack, from that day on, I have not had a drink or a drug. Yeah. And I was not in any condition a second before that to not have a drink or a drug. I wasn't even close to that condition of not having a drug drink or a drug. But suddenly, from that point on, I've never had a drink or a drug. I've had drugs in hospital, you know, from accidents. But the funny thing is, someone giving you a drug and taking a drug has a whole different feeling, quite a lot, in a way. Yeah, and you learn about that when you stop taking the drugs. You can learn that sometimes you're given a drug and it's actually the best thing to do. You don't want to be a fucking fundamentalist and a martyr, you know? So I got whacked, but I'd been whacked not like this, but I thought it was going to be just a run of the mill, wow, and then the same old, yeah. But what happened was the thoughts that followed when they showed back up were different than the thoughts that had been occupying me for the last months. Completely different, like a whole different species of thought. It was really strange. And the thought was, I got to do something. I'm really fucked. And so I left, just abruptly left, never seen that person again. I don't even know if I saw that person literally, but it could have been a stage in a dreaming, whatever. But it got erased completely, and I never saw him again. Didn't send him Christmas cards or get any Christmas cards from him. How's the hang gliding or whatever? Nothing like that. It's pretty much, I saw him for about 10 minutes, and that was the length in my life. So I left and I tried to get in touch with Delancey Street because some wisdom came back. And I felt that was the only harbor that I could maybe park myself in that would be safe. Yeah. Because I hadn't studied anything about rehabs. Like a person who needed all these things the most never looked into it. I went to Delancey Street because I didn't know anything better. And it's really for convicts and shit like that. It was just really, and they didn't really give you like a gentle, kind condition. It was really, it was, yeah. I didn't have any options because I never looked for any options, literally. So I did that, and then things happened and life conspired to bring me, I'm not going to go to the whole story, but life conspired to bring me to a recovery meeting that night, which you would think I would have known about recovery. I had no idea. I wasn't thinking about any of this shit. Yeah. And it was based on a deal. Like if you want a place to stay, which was very important at that point, you got to go to a recovery meeting. I said, fuck, great. The last time I made this deal, I made a 2-year commitment. She's asking me for an hour. So I said, yeah. And she dropped me off at a men's meeting in Salvation Army in Valencia. Now it's Chavez. And the funny thing is, I now have a 1950 Chevy pickup, and on the right light, the doors are from the Salvation Army, from that Salvation Army. It was a truck that Salvation Army used way in the 50s. That was my first meeting. That's one of the reasons why I like that truck in a lot of ways, because it's, yeah. So I got introduced to a way of life. And in hindsight, that way of life extended the miracle of getting that whack. I think that I truly, humbly believe that it would have died on the vine like so many of the other opportunities. Because when you're taken over by something that has no interest in a solution, you're going to be blinded to a lot of solutions because it's driving. You think you are. This is actually the aspect of the disease of addiction. All your addictive behaviors, you sit there thinking you're doing them. It has you completely wrapped, taped, signed, delivered. Yeah, because what it does through you, you would probably never do by yourself. But you claim everything that it does through you. It's fucking insane, truly. So I got introduced to recovery, and then I started going there, and now it's been 36 years. Yeah, incredible solution here. This is the best solution I've ever seen here in this world of time and space. Because the solution, obviously at first, when I was introduced to the solution as a way of life, I was looking at it from the problem. I was completely in the act of being identified as that which had defeated me, this idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler. This is what we question in non-duality. Yeah? Completely at that. I was made already. Before anyone or anything could make something out of me, I was already made. I mean, the cement had seemed to have solidified. It was, you're going to have to, Michelangelo would have quit. Would have been hard chiseling of new fucking me. It really would have been. So basically, so, so I just, this message, this solution was that I've never had a strong feeling or a thought. See, a lot of times people will point out the thoughts that may be defeating you, but the only thing they can say will stop having them. And it sets up another failure because you're not what you are in relation to thoughts. You're not what you think. You're not the owner of the thoughts. Yeah, that you're not going to corral or herd those cats. They're going to fucking just run over you because the misunderstanding is before the thoughts. The misunderstanding is these are my thoughts, which they're not. And if you don't believe that and you have any inkling or about recovery or addiction, you will see that how could these be your thoughts if so many people have the same thoughts? And addicts and alcoholics have the same thoughts, have the same feelings, and react to life in a very similar way. So the incredible thing is for the individual to diagnose itself. But sometimes how they get to see that is by seeing the collective. When they're at a meeting and people are sharing their thoughts and their feelings and what they've done in life, you actually are brought to only two conclusions. How did these people get my thoughts, or they're not my thoughts? And these are the certain little hints that will be illuminated and enlarged by non-duality. The understanding of non-duality will enlarge these little cryptic free samples and make it a way of life, actually. It can have a whole new basis because this basis has never gone anywhere. You just have other things on top of it, yeah? You do not have to create a new basis. It's waiting. It's already available. All you got to do is lose interest in certain shit, yeah? And the thing is, when people try to lose interest, they're trying to lose interest as that which you need to lose interest in. Yeah. So they're identified with that which is defeating them. And now as that, they try to lose interest in it, which is more interest in it. You have to see these things or you're going to keep stepping on the landmines. Yeah. And you're going to buy new maps, how to traverse the minefield, and you're going to blow up. You're going to step on it and it's going to blow up because self can't get out of self. This is the fundamental dilemma with spirituality. Spirituality assumes a starting point that's actually what needs to be questioned. The idea of you being the one who's doing and now is going to do spiritual stuff to become a spiritual one is a dilemma right there and then. Yeah. So in this world, has been the greatest solution or definition of a solution because I didn't have to do much. The thoughts weren't at me. Strength, I didn't have them. Yeah. And when I saw people getting loaded, I had no interest. I mean, whatever could have caused what did they do in cancer when you have a regression or something? There was no regression because the whole thing was taken out. I had no interest in the thoughts that were telling me to have a drink for years. So I never saw a solution such as this until I was introduced to non-duality, because non-duality is a solution before the problem. It's not a solution that comes after the problem. It's a solution before the problem. And it gives you a vision of the problem that doesn't make it a problem. You don't see that you're the obstacle anymore. Yeah, you just don't. And it's such a beautiful, it's these two solutions in an action figure way. The solution of recovery was primo. Yeah, but really the greatest solution to me is before the problem. And what non-duality doesn't take the place of a life of recovery. It illuminates a life of recovery. And whatever life you're involved in, sports, recluse, social, whatever, it will illuminate wherever you are in a way that your head cannot do. Your head's headlights are too fucking self-centered, yeah? And they're a dualistic headlight, and they just focus on one thing, you, the you that you're not. Non-duality is like if you could have a panoramic headlight. Just you would be there. It is. It's lighting where you're going, and then suddenly you got a panoramic view. Yeah, that's what it's like. And then you see that panoramic view is truly the only aperture, and this little duality looking way is just an appearance in it. They're not competing. There's not a competition between one and the other. It's sort of like there's a huge thing that this little thing is inside the mouth of. It's already been swallowed. It's already apart. It's not a threat to the huge view. Yeah. So when you see the myopic, you also see, the panoramic, you see myopically, and you recognize it as not you, and you start recognize what you is and what it isn't. Yeah. And it's basically a condition that has to be constantly reinforced. And in the reinforcing of it, it overplays its hand, and then it can be used to bring about a recognition, I'm not that. Yes, which is what we do here, truly. You have all the evidence you need to look at something to get a different message. The same thing that was making and repeating the same message can be translated in a different way if you greet it with, I'm not that. So while you is parading, running around the head, telling you about the past and future, this and that, and you're watching it, but you're in an attitude, I'm not that. And you know what? It's true. So there's some weight behind it. You don't have to yell or amplify the yell because it's true. It can even be whispered. You just, I'm not that. Yeah. You don't have a dog in the hunt. It's not like it's bad enough. I'm just not that. Yeah, that's it. And then suddenly you're onto something, and and that being onto something produces effects here. Yeah. And to me, the effect we call it traveling lighter. And on this level, what more do you want? That's what really people, they're looking for transcendence just to travel lighter here. Yeah, they think if they transcended here, they travel lighter here. But the traveling lighter is below. It's not in the sky above, and you're going to go and arrive there. It's already so. We just have to dispute the lies and the misunderstanding that has become so, we're enamored with it. The head is addicted to it. Like in Buddhism, they call it the cherishing of self. I believe the head, the mental processes, are addicted to this idea of being a you. They are. And I think it's so unbelievable that we are trying to get out of taking drugs as the mental drug. We don't see self as something other than us. We see self as us, but it's the drug. It's a drug. That's why trying to get out of this or all the other addictions, and why they don't work is because you try to get out of self as self. If you realize you weren't self, you would lose interest in getting out of it. And that's truly the way to get out, is you have no fucking dog in the hunt about being in or out of it, really. Yeah. You've realized the futility of trying to arrive at where you already are, or trying to leave from everywhere, which is impossible. Yeah. It dawns on you, no matter how let's say you're 8 levels below a coconut, it's still going to break through that fucking shell because it's a fact. Yeah. Non-duality isn't giving you a magic trick to come back the other magic tricks. It's really a recognition of something that's already so. Yeah. It's not like we come to a new beginning. We've come to what's always beginning. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. That's why here, and then you want to bring this into recovery, because recovery, you recover from some things in a way, but other things may be lagging. And this light illuminates those other things. And you could probably find a lot more relief in your life of recovery if you could see that that which has defeated you is foreign to you. If you could see that which you take or something takes to be you, and I would say it's something, the head is not you. If you could just entertain that possibility and let it be applied to what's actually just happening. You don't have to go to a special setting or shit like that. You're not going to have to take anything. Just apply it to what's going on right now and see with this understanding what will get emphasized, because it's going to be different than the way you're looking at it now. Yeah. It's going to call, the non-duality understanding is going to call something and amplify something that was always being muted with the head. Yeah. So the head had the orchestra, but a lot of the fucking instruments weren't playing. This is like all the instruments get their fucking solo. Yeah. 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 It's cool. So this is it. To me, this is a solution from the solution, which is there's no problem, literally. That's truly a solution. A solution from the solution is there is no problem. Yeah. In AA, a lot of us, we greet the solution as the problem. So there's doing it. You have to be convinced of and build up self-esteem and all like this. So you have to work in the dreamscape to start getting out of the dreamscape, but it doesn't stay there. So when you're saying, I'm working the steps, you realize very quickly something's working on you through the steps. And you start realizing something is doing for you what you can't do for yourself. And then the crown of the whole solution is the problem will not exist for you, and it did not come about with any thought or effort on your part. So your reality, your relativeness of as the doer and the shaker is completely neutered by this solution. So this solution isn't like scratching up a wall and being like America's spiritual ninja thing, go through the obstacle courses. No, a lot of it is just the field that used to be conflicted and divisive, and a lot of teams, they're Texas, they are doing this and all this separation shit. There's an acceptance comes in, almost like a mist. And you start seeing things differently because this gets affected. And when this gets affected, I don't mean this, I mean this. Yeah. When this gets affected, everything else gets affected because everything else is inherently empty. Everything else is being given meaning through us. Yeah. Yes. So when this changes, the meaning and the emphasis of your life will change. And it will be like you're walking through the same garden and you'll notice new flowers coming up. And then one will pick, and then this, and then a new cricketer shows up. Yes, same old, you start noticing shit you weren't noticing for. If you stop on one of your trails, or if I went in the yard and you just stopped and looked down at the grass where you only see is a little grass, there's fucking a lot of shit going on. There's ants, other things, the big battle between beetles or whatever. Tons of stuff is going on underneath our feet. To me, that's symbolic of what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. We're so busy looking, we're missing a lot. Yes. So, yeah. Anyone else? Anyone? Yes? Oh, we have a question. If you say it, I'll say it to them because they can't hear
Oh,
you.
okay. It's not really a question. It's more of a comment, but there are certain Paul Hedderman aphorisms that I think we're all familiar with, common sayings you use a lot of times. But you said something once in a talk of yours in passing that I think should be a new Paul aphorism: brushing yourself off. You were just talking about doing what you do, living your life, and then afterwards brush yourself off. And does that resonate?
Yes. Well, the thing is, in that sense, he was talking about living life and then brushing yourself off. A lot of that's geared with people I know who work in recovery, and they pick up a lot of stuff during the day trying to be of help. And I remembered I did it this thing. I was with this spiritual group and we had an event at the Houston Astrodome. And there's people from all around the world, and I was a massage person. So I was massaging people, every day. And the big day would be Sunday when the guru was going to show up, and it was very important for everyone. And then that Sunday, I hadn't been cleaning my hands or anything. Every orifice shit came out. Yeah, everything came out of me. I got super sick, right? And I went to the bathroom in my pants, the only pants I had, and the guru was there. So I had to take a sheet and wrap it around and look like I was a holy man to walk to my seat at the Houston Astrodome, because I was going to miss the whole fucking event was based on this one day. I only wore one pair of pants. They were no bueno. Wrapped around, we had those earth shoes, really heavy shoes, and there I went. So I learned then to wash my hands off. So in that sense, the brushing off has a lot to do with when shit hits you in life, the head, it accumulates and the head uses it. So it's nice to, yes.
I wasn't hearing it as.
I know you weren't.
Okay. No,
So tell me how you heard
okay.
it.
I didn't hear it as brushing shit off, brushing yourself.
Oh, yeah.
off.
Oh, yeah. Like it's clinging. Yes.
No, getting the self, brushing the self off.
Oh.
Whatever you're doing in
Yeah.
the moment, brush the self off. Maybe you didn't even mean it that way, and that's how I.
No, that's why I probably didn't.
Probably why I
Usually when I say brushing off, it's truly
Yeah.
because a lot of people do service and then they do service as work, and it has a different effect when it's work. And a lot of people go out in the business of serving people, like in recovery. And they think oh no, I'm doing service, but the service has got money involved, and money has a certain influence, yeah. So yeah, that was, as I probably meant something. Basically, everything I say is empty. You give it the meaning it has, basically. Unless I say it over and over again. Yeah, I'm saying over and over again, I'm trying to get something I think is important over. But whatever, nothing's important really. It's just about time, because when tonight you'll be in the ever-loving, the great way. You will, and this is going to end, it's going to end, and I don't believe it'll be. You're not going to have, wherever you are, there's not going to be a memorial where you were. I just don't see it that way. I really see it'll be completely as if nothing ever happened. I don't believe the voice in your head travels somewhere else. I don't, when it thinks that it vouches to be the soul, I don't think that's the soul. If there's a soul, I think it's like a voice box that is able to be played because it's attached to the existing body at the time. So the body is a non-existent thing, but existence is giving it life, and it's also giving the life to the voice box. When that existent leaves, I don't think the voice box grows wings and flies away and attaches to another, you know what I mean? It's Paula for 80 years, instead of Paul, just had an added A. So I don't know, but those are just opinions. But I see it every night when you go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't see most people look like they seem like they're looking forward to bed. I mean, it's nice to go horizontal and chill out, don't you think? I don't know. I mostly have the funny thing is, I saw my father when he died. They sent me up to go get him to wake him up for lunch, and he was in the bed I used. And I had no idea of death, but he was laying there, sort of like you see people, but he had his head is this way. He had a smile on his face. He had been very ill, hadn't smiled much, and that that left a lasting impression on me. I don't see that he met Godzilla. It looked like he was fucking had a huge amount of relief and peace to get, and I view the situation here the same way. Yeah, it had a very big effect on me. When I asked my mother, because I didn't know what had happened, when she came in a room, by her reaction, I knew something had happened. But my reaction, I didn't know he was dead. He looked happy. Yeah, and I haven't lost that dead and happy goes together to me in a lot of ways. All right, well, anyone else?
Jim has his hand up, Paul, so just unmute Jim.
All right, Jim. I may not be able to see you. I have a block of something going on, but I can't change it now. I'll probably black out the whole Zoom.
It's okay.
Oh, Jim Elliott. All right.
Yeah, Paul, I just wanted to share some gratitude for you for what you're doing, man. You have a way. I mean, I've sat in a lot of satsangs where silence seems to be the overriding. Of course, this silence is the truth, but I just have this appreciation for your ability to riff endlessly on the no thing. It's a true skill, and I just wanted to thank you.
You know, Jim, let me jump in here a second. I was watching Amelia, and what was emphasized was the endlessly part of that statement. I saw a scaredness endlessly. It's okay. All right.
That's
Jim.
the only reason I put my hand up, because it looked like you ran out of steam there for a second.
No, I don't. It always gets.
It gets rebooted.
I don't control the fire on the. I don't control the fire element in the gas stove. I just don't. You know, if there's a if the third toe on your right foot shows a little interest, I'm here. But we're not a performing animal, you know. I've gone some places where they were, you know, I don't take everything so seriously, but I have a lot of honor for this message. So I remember I was doing thing at this town called Julian. We used to call it non-Julian down near San Diego. We had an unusual large amount of people at this weird town. But there was people getting ready for the talk and they were eating. And I said, no, you got to stop, you know, put the food down for a second. Yeah, this isn't
Paul,
this is not a lounge satsang, you know, this is a buffet satsang. No, it's not. I haven't been, yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of honor for it. I mean, I can't believe how cooped up we are, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I truly believe we're like marathon runners in a closet. Yeah, it's no one's fault or anything, but I believe if you could just sneak a little note underneath the door to the marathon runner, hey, you can open the door. Then instead of bitching about it'll just start running and things will go well. You know what I mean? A lot of times there's something you need to do and you're not doing it, and it's causing a frustration or everything like that. Once you get in the water, you know. So all your story about, oh, this and that, it was just a way of trying to deal with the absence of something you need, like the water. But yeah, this thing, this absence is the eternal presence. Yeah. There's no lack to be found here. There's no lack. This isn't like one of those treasure hunts where you stop at one tree and then you get another thing, you got to go somewhere else. When you land here, it's it. Non-duality is a disarming message. Yeah. And then all the gathering of the troops and marching here or there, you lose a lot of interest in all that. Yeah. And that stop that was forced on me on the head when I got struck sober, I welcome that pause. You know, I'm into that pause. Yeah, that PAUSE. Yeah. So, and it gives you the ability to enjoy peace of mind. Not that you don't have the ability, but we're not using a lot. We're walking around almost like like the dogs when they have something problem, they put those cones on us. We're like walking around with a cone, just listening to a satellite dish of I, me, my, and we're walking around and we have all this, we have concepts of everything painted on the inside of the cone. So we think we know everything, but it's not fucking working. So this is like through Zen, it's I don't know. And that is not a state of the mind in a way. It's a state of you and I, as what we are. You don't know. Not just the head doesn't know, you don't know, because it makes it revelatory. Yeah, then life is refreshingly new, no matter if you just lived in an alley and you walk down the same alley, you would see something different all the time because you're alive. Yeah, you're alive, like Frankenstein. Yeah, it's alive. Yeah, yeah. So and you don't remorse, oh, I should have gotten this later, because you don't. All of those things are what clings to the idea of you. I should have gotten this earlier. I blew it. None of that means shit. It doesn't. When the moment works for you, it's always been that moment. Yeah. And then the history that seems so important as an action figure timepiece isn't. It really isn't. And then when people say, well, you did this and you did that, and you did this, and then the thing got whacked. And in this little world of time and space, it looks like that happened, but it's not what happened. Because nothing actually happened. It's always been happening. Like Ramana says a very interesting thing. Hopefully the translation was good, which is it's always realized. So that which we are is always realized. Like pulsating light, always. It's always realized. So your idea of realizing it, what you realize is it's always realized. Yeah. So your idea that you weren't realized, or you were once realized and then you blew it and now you're unrealized, is all a macabre little theater piece in the ever-present fact of always realized. And do you want the finite to win out over the infinite? Do you want to keep living as if the finite has the final say to the infinite, or the infinite doesn't take anything the finite says? Yeah, because it's the infinite. So our believing can only make it seem to be so. It cannot make shit so. It can make shit seem to be so. They can appear to be true, or they can appear to be real, but they cannot be real because there is a reality already. Yeah. And there's no building another reality from that reality. There's reality, and then there's dreaming. Yeah. And many aspects of the dreaming are more like mirages. So you've gone there, you found there was no water, but if you're a certain distance and you look, it looks like there was palm trees and there was water, but now you know better. It's sort of like the emperor has no clothes. You have that understanding when it's wearing a lot of clothes after a while. Yeah. You don't have to keep going and realizing there's no water in the well. You went once or twice and you know there's no water in the well. Even though it appears there's a well and the palm trees, you're not moving. Yeah. Yes. This is the thing. A finite misunderstanding is going to be broken by an infinite understanding. Sooner or later. It can't withstand it. Dream appearance cannot withstand the reality. Yeah. So yes, I believe this and that, but for fucking how long? Yeah. I believe this or that, and then I read another book, I believe something else, or like this, yes. But there's things here available that are like rock solid. And I think non-duality comes from that, which is we need to negate that which is constantly reaffirmed as being true when it's not. Yeah. And that's, to me, is what non-duality is. Not two. So the two-ness of how we think, how we comprehend, how we understand, how we compare, how we perceive, yeah, the unseen bubbling of this and that all day. Sometimes you're thought about, so you're the object of the thoughts. Sometimes you're the thinker, so then you're the subject of the thoughts. Yeah, it goes on all day, and the only thing that keeps this story going is we're fixated on a singular body that looks different than the body next to me. It's the only thing we're holding on. I mean, it's the life preserver for this story. We're just holding on to it for fucking, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And the head and everything just keeps supporting this. You are a bunch of dualistic movements held in a seeming cocoon of singleness. Yeah. And then all these attributes of the one or what is gets attributed to this body, which is a non-existent thing. Yeah, and existence is reality, and this is not reality. This is a non-existent thing. Things are things, things appear, they come and they go. Reality is the seeing of that which is appears and doesn't come and go. I mean, it's not it's not shifting into something. That you think is all gets shrunk, and then you see it from the all. Yeah. So your whole mental story and everything, how your schematics of the world shrink, and then you see the hugeness that's there. Yeah. And it becomes obvious. Just like it became obvious that fucking Delancey Street did better with my life than I ever did with it. Yeah. These things that I was avoiding at all costs seep through. Same thing with non-duality. You cannot believe how many mental rehabs you've gone to or you're going to. And fucking the story that gets reinforced over and over again. Yeah. So non-duality, the last answer here to me. In a world of answers, this is the last answer. Because what it does, it takes the weight for any other answer concerning this topic. Fucking great. Yeah. I haven't gone anywhere now for 20 something years since I heard this. More than that now. Yeah. Buddhism. Everything just stopped. Just why would I need to, why do I want to get equipped to go on a trip that's not necessary? It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I have a pragmatism from being an addict. I knew the coke was good when I shot it, and I knew it wasn't good when I shot it. You weren't going to tell me it was good coke after I put it in my veins. I knew in like a second. It was like, no, and but this, I got it for no. Yeah. So, all right. Anyone else?
Leanne, and then one other hand. So Leanne, if you want to unmute.
Leanne.
Yes, hi, Miss Volkmann.
Volkmann.
Yes, Miss Volkmann has two names. I wanted to ask something. You said before you mentioned money and service. Yeah, I don't remember now how you worded it. Service
Money.
and money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And something like, geez, I forget so quickly. But you said something like, yeah, it's not pure or something. I don't know if anyone here remembers now what exactly said.
Well, money means a lot in
Yeah.
this world. Yes. And so just like our friend said about brushing off stuff, there's a lot of meaning given to money. And that meaning, when it's is introduced to another form of something, let's say service, can affect let's say the flavor or the quality of the service. Yes, because now money is involved. So let's say someone pays, this happened with me. These people were building in Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's very strange. They have some very, very expensive rehabs. Yeah. And this headhunter from France somehow knew me from the Zooms and called me and offered me a job as being a program director at one of these places. And I said, no, I don't want to direct anything. And then they said, well, you talk to them. I said, yeah, sure. So I talked to these people. They called me up, and they were the guy had the property that the first big one that took off there was on, and then he got rid of them, and he was going to try to do the same business on the property. And he had a guy from AA. Both had noble intentions. So I would stress service, service, service. And so just innocently now, these people who are going to be clients are going to be paying a lot of money. Yeah. They say, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to tailor the service for every customer, the clientele? And I said, no, fucking put the clientele into the service. Yeah. Now, this is the way money works sometimes. Yeah. You may not want to tell the truth to someone because they pay a lot of money to be where you are. Yes. So these things, they infect like this, the pool of an event. Yeah. And this is just an observation. I've noticed a number of people who weren't doing service outside their job of service, and they would go out. Enough of hearing it that I saw it as a pattern. Yes. Yeah. So something means this place is a subjective experience. So meanings being thrown around all the time, and money carries a lot of meaning at certain times. And I think that meaning can infect the other meanings of something, like being service. Yeah. 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 That's what I was saying.
Yes, because for me, sometimes, I feel like the word service, I never really could accept it much. And I think it was because the jobs I worked in the recent years, I felt rather more and more like a slave. They were low paid, and they were crappy hours, and a lot of work. And so if someone told me, but it was service oriented, it was like these jobs where you're working with clients, so it's service client. Yeah.
Yes.
But so I don't like until today the word service, but I feel always like, well, it's like loving kindness, no? It's love expressing itself. You give something, either you do something for someone, or you give a thing to someone. And I feel always in our society, also when I think back in the past, people sometimes, at least where I was growing up in, were very generous and just giving, lending you your hand or things. And I think this is in our society. Even now, I feel less and less, even though there's always people, are also more generous. But it comes actually from the spirit, right, which we are. And yeah, with the money, also regarding to what you're doing, what others are doing, like a channel for truth or of truth. I sometimes also found sources, they have really high prices where I immediately think like, that can't be for real, who's getting paid here actually, yeah. And I like to be here because it's on donation basis. And I also don't feel forced, to be asked to give money. But yeah, I think this is very important. So far not. But in other places it's different,
Yeah.
And I think I also saw that in this today there is many self-acclaimed gurus also, and they want a lot of money. And I think their money just showing isn't maybe not really much in
Yeah.
the truth. Yeah.
Well, yeah, again, because of the meaning that's given to it, it can have power. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're going to get a barrage of emails now to donate to zenbitslap.com.
€1 each month.
At least 12 a day, if I can remember. Miss Volkman, Miss Volkman. No, I have an attitude. I don't think I came up with it. It came more from recovery.
Mm.
Recovery, there's a statement. recovery, I didn't have a way of life at the end by the time I went in recovery. So they gave me one, literally, a new one, because the addiction, the active addiction had blotted out whatever else had formed, you know? So it was like a kid, I was picking up new principles. And one of them was the idea of having a new employer. Yeah, and this new employer, being all powerful, will take care of you. Sounds pretty good, right? And here comes the requirements. If you stay close to it, I said, well, that's easy. It's everywhere. So I can already fulfill that requirement and do its works well. That's a sort of vague thing. Any work I can say is doing well. And that's the deal. Fucking great. And I really went for it because I had been in a program 2 years. I knew what surrender was. But I found that in the idea of surrender, it's what you're surrendering to is going to make the biggest difference. Because I have surrendered to the cops and it made me stay in jail longer. I surrendered to a lot of things. And in this case, I surrendered in recovery to this idea of something greater. And I constantly have seen that something is doing for us what I can't or you can't do for yourself. So I have and when we were doing Zen Bitch Slap, when we were coming up with this thing, the people I was with, there was like 4 of them there that day. And they said, we should do a subscription, and shit like that. I said, no, let's just fucking do it for free. Because I had a feeling I'm going to be taken care of. And it's completely validated itself all these years. And I want to thank everyone who donated after that giant barrage of emails for so we have our seasonal barrage now. But no, I used to be able to thank them personally, individually, but then PayPal never told me anymore. And then the other ones, and I just do it in a massive way. Thank you so much for supporting my lavish lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't out of virtue. I just don't care that much. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people, when they hold on to something, that thing takes hold on them. You got to sort of, it's not a good deal. I did it. I was prostituting myself out there, and I thought I was getting over. I thought I was on top of it, and yet I was losing I never lost it. They were just covered up the more valuable aspects of life. You can say it's a typical story of an addict or an alcoholic. Yeah. So, yep. Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
Well, 4 hands.
Jamie and Barbara. We have Jamie and Barbara.
Yeah,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
I've got a question. I've heard you say this before, and I think I understand it, but I'm not sure. So I'd just like you to talk about it a little more. The statement, nothing really happened because it's always been happening.
Yeah. So dreaming is always happening here, but because it's dreaming, nothing ever really happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You don't dispute the happening. What you're disputing is the reality of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
everything is happening, but nothing ever really happened because look, you can tell. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody may have put an effigy up that was going to last forever. Where is it? So nothing. So everything is happening, but nothing actually ever happened. So nothing took form and became real. It's just been looking real. Yeah. And if you were taken out of certain condition, let's say an out of body experience, what is seemingly real looking through the body, you would have a relief from the reality of that when you're out of the body. Yeah. So a lot of reality here is conditional based on meaning. And of course, we're living as a thing, a body. Therefore, a lot of things concerning that seem real, especially pain. So when people feel pain, the head uses that as the final verdict of the reality of this place. Yeah, how would this hurt so much if it wasn't real? Yes, so it always, it loves, in a sense, claiming pain because it fortifies its little case. Yes, yes, yeah. But if you were out of the body and you would see most of the pains you ever felt were of body, yeah, you would be free from those pains, yes, and they wouldn't be real at all. And even when you do a talk, or maybe it happens when you're at satsang, things that seem really real, like a pain in the knee, usually are forgotten during the talk completely. And then sometimes they kick back up, sometimes they don't. But at what you were assuming was real, you come here and you're interested in something, it just shows you that how real was it. Yeah, this is just, this doesn't, you don't have to knock the house of cards down. You just got to see their cards. Yeah, just see the card. The house of card is fine, you know? Yeah, it's just what it is. You don't have to wreck everything. Just realize it's a house of cards. What happens if something, whatever, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, everything is happening, but nothing ever happened. Happened would mean yes, you know? No. Yeah. Yeah, I had this story, like, just another one. For years, I believed my father died when I was 11. For years. It wasn't a huge story, but it was a story, you know, and this, I was about 50 or something, so that story had a nice run for like 41 years. And then I visited my older sister, who was older than me, when he died, and he says, no, you were 9, because she was 12, and I'm 3 years younger. Like, whoops, there goes, take that statue down. It's just, you know, yeah, so. If you took something to be your skin, or you took it to be a suit, you'd have a different relationship with it, wouldn't it? Yeah, so in this case, you're taking your skin sort of like a suit in some ways, yeah? And you have a different relationship with it. Yeah, all right. Anyone else?
Aaron has his
This
hand
is
up.
my new Zoom. This is my coming in and out. How's it?
Aaron, if yeah, is
All right.
next.
Oh, who's next?
Aaron?
Oh, Aaron, and then we have Saraswati. Wait, she's in the, she's coming up.
David Hedderman.
All right, Aaron.
Hello.
Oh, Hiram, here. Oh, Hiram. Oh, what's, how did you,
No, I think it's another name, man. It's not here.
oh, Aram. Whatever. Just,
I'm confused.
you gotta write your name on the virtual hand from now on. No, no. So who is it? Just bring it up.
Aaron.
Hiram. What's this? I see Hiram here. All right.
Hello.
I can't hear you. Oh, here he is. All right, I see you now. All right, it's Aaron. Yeah.
Hi. Um, I can't let go of wanting the selfing to stop. Is it wrong to want that?
No, there's nothing wrong or right, but it's probably not going to stop. It will stop, but it will probably continue again as long as you're alive. But it has many stops. There's many moments, nothing's going on. But usually the next moment is used to forget the other moment. Yeah. So selfing is just a mental activity. At a certain point in sleep, you're freed from it. That's probably why you wake up refreshed in deep sleep. So yeah, but wanting it, not wanting it is not you. So don't get guilty because you want it to stop, and don't get prideful because you've accepted it as not stopping. Just use the that opportunity. It's sort of like wanting to stop selfing brings a fish up. And then when that fish grabs the hook, just say, I'm not the fish. So that's its value, really. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That which says, this is bad for me to want to stop selfing. You see, you're not that, instead of getting into a whole debate about it. Yeah. And just keep catching it. It's not, you don't have to, it's not going to go on for long. I remember with self-inquiry, there would be an asking of that self, who am I? And it would say me. And then I go, well, who is that? And it never, that was it. It only had one answer in its pocket. It basically, hey, I've never been asked this before. So, well, me. And I was like, well, who's this me? It was like, me. And there was the original face. So, yeah, just, this brings that which is underneath to the surface. And so you can catch it and recognize it's not you. Yeah. And then you throw it back. Yeah. Yeah. And then over time, your interest in all that changes, and you lose interest in all of it, and you start feeling better or feeling okay and whatever. And without knowing it, it doesn't need your knowledge of it. It brings about a traveling lighter. Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels like it is me, so I can't.
Of course it
can't.
feels like it is you, but it ain't you. Yeah. It thinks like it is you, it ain't you. It feels like it's you, it ain't you. It doesn't feel like it's you, it ain't you. It doesn't feel like it ain't you. Yeah. Yeah. Feelings are not facts. Did you ever hear the Radiohead song? Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's true, something like that. Yeah. Yes? Have you entertained that idea? Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's true.
But then I'll just be left with taking it as a belief. Wouldn't that just be another belief to
How do
deal?
you know where you're going to be left? You're busy trying to arrive. Let's see where something takes you instead of trying to arrive somewhere. You don't know what it's going to be like when you, yeah. Don't double fuck you with the non-duality thing. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like, oh, but I'm doing it. No, that's like a menage a trois with one person. Yeah. So just, yeah. Yes. So just check it out. Oh, am I bad for wanting it to stop? No, you're not. There's no one who wants it to stop. There's a wanting it to stop. It's not you. All right. And then the next reaction, well, then if I do that, it may become a belief. Well, say, who is it that will hold that belief? That's not you. Yeah. So every time it presents a package, you don't get into the package, you get into the delivery person. You go, it's not you. Okay, not you. See, whenever I'm going to say no to this package, you're fucking engaged. They're inside and there's a whole talking. But no, you're just negating the delivery person. Packet, no, you don't this is keeping your eye on the ball. Like Ramana said it, we'll get to you, Saraswati, in a second, too. I'm not losing anyone here. The Ramana Maharshi, he said a lot of beautiful things about one topic. The topic was, is there free will or predetermination, or is there free will in predetermination? And this question is being asked many, many, many times. So then Ramana goes, if there's a sense of individuality, and a sense of individuality does not mean there's an individual. It means it to us, but it doesn't mean it. Yeah. You can have a sense of individuality not being an individual, for sure. Yeah. So if there's a sense of individuality, there'll be a sense of free will. And then he basically says, the only value these questions have is to ask who's asking the question, really. So everyone think, wow, this is a very important question, free will determination. He completely erases that value and says the only value any of this has is to point to the seeming person. Yeah. So bring another package and we're going to still point to the delivery person. I don't give a shit about the packages. I don't. But what about, no. Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty of this platform. If there was a lot of money involved and there was let's say on the higher squares of the Zoom, there was like donation accounts that were blinking. Yeah. And then on the second, there would be and the fourth, there would be no donations. I would be going off for 30 minutes trying to fit this message to the person on the first level of squares, maybe. You know what I mean? And then the other ones, we just mute them until they donated. You know what I mean? Of course not, but you know what I mean? So this is to talk about the idea of service, how it affects things, the money. Yeah. If you had a retreat and you charged $30,000 for these people, you're going to give them something, probably. Yeah. When this topic is giving them nothing, you're probably going to give them something. But here we are in our little garage satsang and shit. We don't have a massive compound with neons and bit slap sign. And come in we have, if you've donated over 100,000, you can come in through the first gate. If you haven't donated, go to the service store. You know what I mean? It's insane. Yeah. So yes, my friend, just keep asking who it is that's bringing you these ideas. Yeah. It's not you. Yeah. You don't have to say no to the delivery, the package. Just say no to who's delivering it. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's not difficult. You get into the habit of it. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody would have done self-inquiry, the thing would have said me, and then they'd stop and walk away with it. You just sat there for a few seconds later and the whole thing collapsed. It was perfect. And that's your face. Your original face is that space. When the asker and the askee get negated, there you are. There you are always. Here you are always. Yeah. This idea that we're landing and taking off, this is it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we have Miss Saraswati.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. Paul, you had shared a story about Ramana that I wanted to check in about and see if I got it right, and then share something more about that if I do have it right. So what I heard you say was that some of Ramana's students.
Yes. Story. Yes.
Yeah, this story, and they asked him, Ramana, if he was ready if they could teach, and he replied no.
No, he said yes.
Okay, so.
But I don't recommend it.
Okay, but I don't recommend it because you will water down the message by being too compassionate.
You'll dilute the message. Yes.
Dilute the message by being too compassionate.
Yes.
So I just
not too compassionate, because compassion can look a lot of different ways. So yeah, it's just in a weird way, it can be a people pleasing. So there's a people, and if there's enough people, there's a pressure, and you don't want them not to like you. So you say, okay, sure. Yeah. And then you try to fit something around them so that it's not a stress or a struggle, and there's no real threat. And then they become a spiritual person or something. So the idea of not diluting the message is If the message is nothing, then it's nice not to add much to it. Yeah.
Well, I think that you do a great job with not diluting the message. And not to say that you're not compassionate, but I just think you do a great job with that. And I just wanted to thank you.
Well,
And
thank you. Yes.
yeah. And, but you also reflect on the loving presence that happens as a result of being I'm not sure of as a result of, but sometimes you'll reflect on that also. And I don't think that, in my opinion, waters down the message. I appreciate when there's that recognition. Anyway, something went on in my house here, so I got distracted, but thank you. That's all I wanted to really say was thank you so much for your message, for the
Well,
message.
thank you, honey. Well, in a way, I'm fortunate because one of my stick figure legs is in recovery, whereas it's very valid to be of help. You learn what help may be or may not be. And then the other leg is in non-duality, where I can be as viciously fucking disassociated from others. Seems to be a healthy regimen. There is no world. There is nobody. I probably would have been one of those if I didn't get my ass kicked so much. I need a little compassion, or getting whacked was like a meat tenderizer. I guess I needed it. Yeah. Yeah. It brought me to my knees, and I feel this event, and it is an event, dreaming is a subjective event, which most dreaming is, yes. And I didn't know that I wasn't able or didn't put myself in other people's shoes. I just grew right into that. So I remember when I was in the courtroom once, my mother was there in the audience, and I had gotten arrested. This is my third arrest, I think. And back there in Long Island, you would come into the court handcuffed with someone else, you know. So two people would come in at one time. And I was young, I was like 17, 16. And I was handcuffed to a guy that I thought was super old. He was probably 30 something, you know, at that time. And he had been he was a flasher. He only had a London fog raincoat on, and he was arrested flashing people on the street. And I remember he had greasy black hair. I remember that, oily black hair. And there I come in, and I'm sitting with this guy because they don't take the handcuffs off until you walk up to, you know, hear what they have to say about you. And I scanned the audience, and there was my mother, man. It was an amazing thing, and she had the sorrow of 1,000 mothers on her face. And that which had captured me, its immediate reaction was, I'm just never going to tell her again. So the next few arrests, my family and everyone told my mother what happened, you know. So we would just deal with it without, keep her in the dark about her youngest son behavior. And that sense of, it was a weird thing I found later. I thought so less of me that I did not believe I had an effect on others. It was a weird belief. Yeah, I believed I didn't have any value, so I couldn't really impose anything on you. So why would you miss me? Yes, in a weird way. And then it corroded it, or turned into a crust of not being able to put myself in other people's shoes. Yeah, so when I would do shit, I could not think outside of the effects. I couldn't even think outside of the effects because I was willing to pay any consequence not to feel uncomfortable now when I was out there addicted. So I was hurting myself amazingly a lot, and I still didn't give a shit about me. Yeah, something was so gnawing, like a fucking a super rat come, gnawing through a wall. It was just incredible. So, yeah. So the message of not diluting the messages, you would hope if you've heard something or you feel something, and this thing told me early on, don't stay at this point, because if you don't see the claiming of the heads of all your actions and everything, you're going to be looking from it. So it's just the way it is. Because at that point, when you're looking from it, you're unaware of it. When you're seeing it, you're relying on the awareness of it. You're aware of it. When you're not seeing it and looking from it, you're not, the awareness is like an unsuspected inner resource. It's being used by the head, but it's not the revelatory event it can be. Yes. So, and it was super clear. If you don't see it, you're looking from it. So we just stayed here. And I haven't seen anything to move me from it, this idea. I haven't. The people, I didn't listen to everyone out there who were teachers, but I listened to a number of them. And I just, I just did not believe this was emphasized enough. It doesn't mean stop doing what you want to do. Just have this understanding that whatever you're going to do, there's going to be a claiming of it. And it's going to be put into that fireplace, so to speak, and reinforce that story of you. Yeah. At the expense of the living of this event, I feel. So I don't believe there's any super new solution that's come up and to get before that. I don't think you as this can get before it. I don't. I think you can see before it. I don't think this can get before it, because this is what's made after you're looking from it. I just don't see how you're going to use this to get to the before of this. Yeah. So that's all. I'm humbly stumped in a good way. All right. Anyone else? Or we're going to take off because I got some hungry people looking at me. They want coffee, gluten-free cakes. Yeah.
David Bitterman, there he is.
Hey, Paul.
We're gonna end the day on a bitter note.
Yeah, I just had to testify, on the topic of spirituality and the talk of service work and money and these two worlds meeting of recovery and non-duality. When I was a kid, I was 18, I went to India, I found my first teacher, had big experiences, moved into a spiritual community. And, unbeknownst to me, because of my age, I was being cushioned from it. There was a lot of abuses going on in that community. And we all know of like the sexual abuses and things that have happened in a lot of places. This particular teacher sort of had an immunity to that. But what he did love was sort of money and power. And he had a lot of insecurity stuff probably within. What's that?
Who doesn't?
Yeah, well, totally. So the head was still alive and well and online. But so what I didn't know, I left there when I was about 21, but what I didn't know is there was a ton of abuse and extortion and very manipulative, dark things going on, along with some great work that was happening there, right? So that sent my head for a twist for a while. And for decades, I didn't disavow what I learned or knew, but I was not interested in meeting another teacher or teachers. I was kind of sworn off of the topic.
Yeah.
And then there was over the decades, certain people that I found to be trustworthy kind of warmed me a little to it. But when I came across you, and we haven't gone into our personal histories in great detail, but I have been through the process of recovery. I've worked the 12 steps. I was sponsored, and I have sponsored others, and I've been through that process. And when I saw you, I said, he is looking at this teaching work from the point of view, it's service work. It's I mean, the gift of the understanding of what it is to do service was readily apparent in the way that you approached how you hold meetings and deliver the message of non-duality and things like that. And it just warmed my heart, because there was a trust again because I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from a person who understood broken people and had been broken themselves and understand what it means to do service and to give from a place of emptiness. And so I just wanted to let you know that it comes across. And when people are a little confused with the gurus and the money and everything else, it does get confusing, and it does, and again, it's not the nature of money isn't bad. It's the interpretations and powers we all give it can get things muddled. But I just wanted to let you know that it was felt very deeply in this action figure and allowed me to really trust again in a lot of ways. So
Great.
very beautiful. So thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
I think I should go off on a high note. That was a good note. Well, you
Much
know,
more
one
fun.
thing though, the service, yeah, I had a flavor, of, but I was really taught service in recovery, definitely. Like
Yes.
the idea of service, but it galvanized in recovery. Yeah.
Absolutely, the giving and so many things, and it's such it makes perfect sense in a world of duality that the people who have been, sort of so broken or ridden or driven by this thing of self, get to experience the love and the gifts of that, the service, the recovery, and the beauty, and the silver lining of seeing the impersonality of things because we share our intimate lives with others, and put it all on the table and expose ourselves. And I think it makes perfect sense that people in recovery would be ripe in a way to hear this message that a lot of people walking around highly functioning action figures may not be ready for, so
Well,
yeah.
you know, one thing though, observing it, there's some of the drugs that are out now, their syntheticness and
Mhm.
effects, there's really having a zombie effect on a lot of people,
Sure.
which I didn't see when I was out there like this. They got shit I never heard of that people are taking, and they actually, we dropped a guy off at a hostel, and it was in this alley, and it was populated by these people that they just they're leaning on a parking meter, and they're there
Mhm.
for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
like they're stopped. It's like a still life picture.
yeah.
They're, and they're not moving. And then a guy was in a wheelchair and was all covered with a big blanket in the middle of this little alley, and that thing didn't move, and I didn't see any movement in there. There was a person there.
Mhm.
They were like basically leaning or just it's scary to
Yeah.
me
I had a
because synthetics have another energy with them. They do.
yeah.
Synthetic is like gets to be like industrial, and I think it's a lot of people are they're getting damaged to a point they're going to need some extra help. I mean,
Mhm.
because
Oh,
wow,
sure.
I'm a
Absolutely.
yeah, so,
But
yeah.
I remember I had a friend who was in Baltimore for a while, and his wife was working at John Hopkins. She passed later, but they had a heroin epidemic though, and they had these people that would bend over, and they would just they would go into, I forget what you call it, nodding out. They would go into that zone, bent over, and they would just be stuck there though. And this is, but it was from heroin. But they would drive around the city and say, you see all these people just bent over, just hanging
Yeah.
there, standing still. Very
These
strange.
people would be with people I knew, they would fall asleep in a weird position and they wake up and their legs were dead. They'd had to get
Oh, gangrene. Oh, ooh, ooh,
yeah,
awful. Yeah,
they put
yeah.
out 13 hours and they cut off the blood supply, not knowing it, to an appendage. And it was too late when they woke up. They had to get
See,
the leg cut off and
see,
oh,
see, so we
on
hit the high note, so
that
we had to match it with the dark note,
note,
and there we go.
yes. But hey, thank you so much. Yeah.
No, thank you, brother. No, everything you're doing from the
All
bottom
right.
of my heart. Thank you.
All right, Judy Lovins. There you go. Yeah. Jamie and Barbara. It's a pleasure. Axel, as always. Mary Champagne. Jim Elliott. Brian C. Yeah. Vlad in Portugal. Nice to see you, Vlad, as always. Mika in Finland. Keith. It's a pleasure. Saraswati. She's somewhere in Carolina, I think. Graham. Nice to see you, Graham. Roman Mueller. my main man, Muchi Facet down in Laguna. Tomas, nice to see you from Poland. Nice to see you, Tomas. Say hello to your group for me. We got Zoe from Japan. Yes, Zoe. Martin, always a pleasure, Martin. Thank you for your service concerning, and everyone who does the service around the Zooms and everything. Yeah. Stephen M, pleasure. We got Christy. Yes, she swallowed the Kool-Aid. That's good. Chris H, revving up for a busy season. Yeah. If you need a Santa Claus, we got one available for anybody. Call Zen Bitch Slap and we'll give you the name of Chris H, the number. Esther. Nice to see you, Esther. Miss Volkman, yes. You know stuff, I think there's a thing called recapitulation from some shamanic, the Carlos Castaneda people, I think. And life will bring you to certain situations and that you may have a sour taste, and then it'll bring you to the same situation and you'll get a whole different flavor, which will erase the sour taste in that file. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know what that meant, but I just felt like saying it. AW, nice to see you there. I can't see the other people, but hey, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll be here again 5 times a week, and it's on Zen Bitch Slap event page, same Zoom, no password. And as they say, it's suggestive only when you jump out of the airplane, but you better pull the cord. So donation is suggestive only. I'll see you guys. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Have
Paul.
a good one, Paul.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Paul.
I'll
For
see you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.